All right, there should be sound. There should be me. Merry Christmas. Please let me know if you can hear me. I usually have this set up for Twitch. There's Michael. Hello, Michael. Can you hear me all right? Merry Christmas. It's the 25th of December. Ho, ho, ho. I hope you're doing well. I realize I usually do this live stream, but I forgot. A Christmas live stream for those of you that, might be a bit lonely for Christmas. You want some company? It's nice to have someone to watch jabbering on about hobby stuff. So today is a hobbyish live stream. Christmassy, perhaps. I put up my Christmas decorations. That's it. It's these balls. Who doesn't like shiny balls for Christmas? Ho, ho, ho. We've got Michael. Are you having a good Christmas? I hope so. Daiquiri, how are you doing? I'm used to the Twitch chat, which is, kind of fast. It was a long time ago since I streamed on YouTube, and I forgot about the fact that the chat, I get your messages 5 minutes later or something like that. I'm in Sweden, and in Sweden we celebrate sort of, the whole big Christmas do thing was yesterday on the 24th. Whereas, as far as I know, if you go to the UK or the US, today is like the big day when you eat all the food and pass out on top of all the Christmas gifts you bought for yourself in the hobby store. And so I usually don't really have anything to do this day. So why not share it with you good folk? Michael says, 7 a.m. here and the rest of the house is still asleep. A few moments of peace before chaos. It's a nice chaos. Did you perhaps get a package in the post yet, Michael? Rusty Beetle, how are you doing? I love seeing all these old nicknames and YouTube thingies. Kind of miss that on Twitch. James, hello from Australia, where Christmas Day ends in 1 hour. That's right, time travel. Did you get fun? Were you nice? Did Santa give you what you wished for? I hope so. Yeez says, I love you, bro. Great miniature content. Thank you very much. And hopefully we will have another year of, fun YouTube video stuff. John Miller, how are you doing? Merry Christmas, my friend. Hope you have a good one. Well, thank you very much. Michael, good. Your stickers arrived. Santa came through. Michael sent me a lovely book last year. I actually have it here. Was that for Christmas or was that for my birthday? I can't remember. It's the biggest book I own, thanks to Michael. It's a huge tome of Frank Frazetta art. And I promised to send him some 52 miniatures stickers. This is a great book. It's kind of, it's not really a bedtime, kind of, try read it in bed. It doesn't work. It needs its proper stand, like a huge, one of those Bible things. Anyway, I promised him stickers and I never sent them because I couldn't find them because I moved my location. And then I found them and sent some stickers to Michael. James got goblins and dark elves. My niece got Barbies. I mean, I haven't really figured out yet why no one has made videos on spicing up the Barbies. Making cyberpunk Barbies or something, using bits, giving them cool guns and stuff. There's bound to be a lot of Barbies in op shops and stuff. It could be kind of a fun video, I've always thought, but I haven't seen one yet. Greetings from Germany, says he. Well, greetings. God jul is the Swedish term, as Rusty Beetle said. The Ease is wondering what my plans are for 2026. Waking up in the mornings, that's step one. Making it through the day is step two. And I should exercise more. I'm thinking you're probably guessing about sort of hobby content. I'm not really sure. I kind of most of my videos are spur of the moment things, sort of in terms of what's going on with my own hobby. I don't really plan my content that well. I do have two larger plans, which is starting up adjacent channels, actually. We'll see how that goes. I used to do book reviews and book recommendations on my YouTube channel, like sci-fi and fantasy books, only that doesn't work out nowadays with the YouTube algorithm, so I stopped doing them. But I thought maybe I should start an adjacent channel for only the book reviews. I also have another project that I'd like to do, but also that I don't think would fit into the algorithm of the channel. You know, YouTube has been a bit difficult to handle this past year. So that might become a third channel, but this is all sort of in the works. Hello, Girl Painting, how are you doing? Greetings for your one and only German viewer. I actually read there was these is from Germany as well, but you're obviously the number one German viewer, Girl Painting. Chaos Barbie, exactly. Wouldn't it be fun? I mean, I know there's the Joy Toys or whatever they're called. That always sounds like a very adult present in my mind, but I guess they are the toys for grown-ups. But you know, spooking out Barbies would be fun. Barbarians, Barbie Hammer. Now there's, okay, everyone just don't tell anyone else. They can't steal this idea, but that's a perfect thumbnail and stuff. Barbie Hammer. I really should do that, shouldn't I? So maybe that was a plan for 2026. Merry Christmas, War Machine closing. War Machine closing in. War Machine closing in. Jez Hunt, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. James L is kind of remembering me playing synths at some point. Yes, I haven't had the time for, I still play music. I've always made all the music for the channel. There's not much music. There's like the intro music. I used to do music to some videos, but that was when I was making like one video a month tops. And now trying to make more than 2 videos a month. Also remembering that I have a job and a kid. The making the music thing has kind of gone out the window because it takes too long. But yes, I used to play synths and guitars and stuff. Hello, Oxy from Switzerland. Michael says, yes, Barbie Hammer in 2026, please. Okay, we'll see what we can do. Step one is to find Barbies, I guess. Girl Painting is wondering, what's your top video game of 2025? Ball X Pit or Expedition 33? I don't really play many computer games, to be honest. I don't seem to find the time. I have been playing a bit of Total Warhammer with my son. We're playing Skaven. We've also played a little bit of Tropico, because I figured it was time he should learn about how countries are ruled, you know. Let's not get political, but, you know, I don't know if you people know about Tropico. You essentially play a character of a dictator on an island in the Caribbean. But after this past year, whatever happens in that game seems like nice compared to politics now. You know, yeah. James says toys in general can be a good source of terrain bits vehicles. Had some Schleich monsters that didn't really need repainting. I mean, I watch a lot of Bill's stuff, Bill making stuff, yeah, it's fun what he can build from old bits of toys and things like that. Hello, T-Bone, sir. How are you doing? Merry holidays. See, Perigar is playing Ball X Pit right now. No, you're watching me live stream. Let's not get confused here. Hello, Go For It Painting. How are you doing? He says your content is one of the best in regards of overall writing quality and quality. Really looking forward to your videos. Well, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. There is a lot of effort that goes into trying to create something worth your time is, I guess, the way I see it. Kind of don't want to, you know, I'm just going to shake some paint. You know, I don't want to take up your time with crap, essentially. So I enjoy trying to write scripts that are meaningful and film things that look nice, essentially. Perigar and girl painting. You guys should maybe talk a bit more, because you seem to be playing the same computer games and having several screens. You know, it's a bit of a match there. Daniel, hello. Merry Hogs Watch, everybody. Well, the same back to you. I read that book recently, I think Hogfather, not too long ago, or maybe I listened to it as an audiobook. I actually figured I'm going to try and do some hobbying today. Greetings, Denny. I'll just say Denny. The rest was very long. Nate Gliniches, how are you doing, Nate? I have not seen you in like eons. I hope you're doing well, Nate. Just jumping in to say Merry Christmas. Time for me to head to bed. Been a long day. Have a good stream. Well, thank you, Nate, for stopping by and saying hi. It's great to see you. Now, I think I'm going to try. I have some experiments to do in regards of my son's miniature painting. So, if you've been watching some of my past, just 2 last videos, I've been painting some rats. This is Skaven rats, as opposed to regular rats, I guess. And let's put it this way. It started out with that my son wanted to get into Age of Sigmar, and he bought the Age of Sigmar starter box, and he wanted to paint the Stormcast, and so he gave the Skaven to me. And I've been painting the Skaven, and he's been sitting painting the Stormcast. But the more Skaven I paint, the less he's painting. I think because he sees what I'm doing, and he's getting a little bit sort of like, mine are not looking as good as my dad's, which is, you know, kind of obvious, as I've been painting a lot longer than he has. So I thought I'd try and figure out a way for him possibly to paint his Stormcast a little bit easier, maybe, or at least getting a bit more pleasing visual results fast, which is based on my last video where I use a sponge. So I want to experiment with the sponge thing for the gold on a Stormcast. I want to try some gold shenanigans to see how that works out. Because if he can get the gold on nicely. And I know there's rattle cans, but we're not doing rattle cans because he doesn't want that. He wants to paint. So, but I want to try something to see if that could help him along a little bit. Daniel's off eating Christmas leftovers. That's the downside of celebrating at someone else's house, like I did yesterday. I don't have any. I have cheese, I guess. I bought the cheese, and so cheese is the only thing I've got. Which, you know, cheese is nice, but you kind of need more than cheese, at least for a day. Then he just finished a Christmas gift. I ruined it with matte varnish. Oh no, what happened? Did it just not look good, or did something weird happen with the varnish? Good morning, Louisiana. Red Dog. Hope you're doing well. How's Christmas in Louisiana? Mart says, hi, 52 Miniatures. Are you painting for a competition like Golden Demon or any local hobby store? Well, no. First off, like with the Golden Demon, I don't think that I'm not that kind of a painter, really. Totally agree with like entering competitions for the fun of like entering a competition, like you painting something and just, you know, to be part of just the spectacle, like entering your piece and looking at all the other pieces, and you know, like you're a little bit part of the little competition community thing. I think that's really cool, but I could never. I'm not competitive, and I'm not into trying to improve myself in that. Under those, like improve my painting under those circumstances. I'd just stress out if I was painting a piece for a competition, in a for me unpleasant kind of stress out, and so that's not what the hobby is for me. You know, I'm not saying I think there's anything wrong with painting stuff for competitions. It's just for me, it's not. That's not. I'm not that kind of a person. You know, not that personality. So no, I don't plan on entering any competitions. I have entered competitions with other things that I've done just because it's, you know, as in sort of hindsight. But yeah. James says, I found painting with airbrush metallics and a brush hand, and on a brush handle's a bit easier. Yeah, like these kind of things. Yes. I totally agree. Also, the metallic speed paints kind of have the same deal happening there as well. But I'm thinking painting with a sponge should be a little bit like airbrushing metallics, which means like there's you know, metallic paints are kind of renowned for being a bit crap in comparison to using regular paints. They go on thick, you know, they can still be kind of translucent, and coverage is difficult, all this kind of stuff when painting with a brush. And so then there's like, people always search for like good metallic paints. If you use an airbrush, for me, there's pretty much no bad metallic paints because it just covers the surface in a different way. All metallic paints kind of look great through the airbrush. And I'm hoping that's also true for the sponge. Then he says, all the metallics aren't shiny anymore. That's with the matte varnish. But why don't you, I mean, I guess you don't have the time, but you can always gloss varnish just the metallic bits. But yes, I kind of like that look though, like matte varnished metallics. Red says way warmer than it should be, but it's fine so far. Yeah, it's same here. It's actually gone below 0 now, so there's no snow really, but at least it's not slush. But up until 2 days ago, it's been like really warm, way warmer than usual, and it's just been raining. Artus, god jul from Finland. Merry Christmas. James says he tried the dry brush and speed paint method over a simple 4-color block paint. A bit time-consuming, but very vibrant. Dry brush and speed paint method, sort of like the slap chop thingy. Perigar says, I feel like even the good metallics each have their own completely different trick to get the most out of them. Yeah. I mean, I don't like metallics. I don't like, for the most part, I just don't use metallic paints. I don't, that's just a personal preference. It doesn't have to do with like the way the paint behaves. It's just, I'd rather do terrible non-metallic metal than use metallic paints, essentially. I just think it doesn't shine, it doesn't feel right somehow. Like the reflections are not, they're based from lights in our real world. And so it just looks a bit wrong to me. Whereas sort of, if you do even sloppy, this almost looks like non-metallic metal. I just think it just looks more like a painted miniature somehow. I don't know. It's just an aesthetic choice. Michael says, Alex's metallic Holy Grail video from a few years ago was a boon. Definitely saved me some money. Well, thank you, Michael. That was a fun video to make back in the good old innocent days. Drazimo says, seeing those upside down Tamiya boxes. Oh yeah, right. You can see the front of my desk. Forgot about that. What have we got? We've got Frostgrave. Got Tamiya boxes, War Machine, fun stuff. Reminds me of the historical fantasy crossovers. Yeah, that's also fun videos. I have another one I want to do. I just haven't had the time. It's actually with an Infinity model. I've got all the miniatures and all the bits and everything. Sort of do something a bit more sort of cyberpunkish vibe, therefore the Infinity miniature. Well, it's a vehicle, actually. About what James said. Yeah, like a slap chop, but over a very simple paint job. Colors very deep and bright. Yeah. Artus says, you seem to like the new P3 paints. Do you also like their metallics? Not really. I mean, they're kind of metallic paints. They're not. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing great about them. It's just another metallic paint, to be honest. They have released, I've only tried one of them, I think, like Super Pro Metallics or whatever. And that silver kicks behind. The others are good, but not, you know. For the most part, if I just paint regularly with metallics, I use these ones. The Vallejo acrylic metal color airbrush colors is predominantly what I use when painting metallics. The only one which is difficult is gold, but usually I just don't know where that is. I have some gold pigment, and so I use the Vallejo, that type of paint, the gold, and then mix in a bit of gold pigment, and it's pretty neat. But with this whole thing with these, like same with the rat video and all of that, I try and just do something that is not product specific. It's like you grab a blue paint. I don't care what brand it is. Should be the same with metallics. Like if I do something that is like, this is how you can paint some Stormcast nice and easy, it shouldn't be about having to go buy a specific paint or paint range. It should work on any gold, you know. But I do like all the other P3 paints a lot. It's actually strange because I used to be kind of anti not super matte paints. I always painted with like scale 75 paints and some art paints that are really matte, just because I like that finish. But I've kind of figured out a little bit that most of the time the way I paint kind of suits better with more like a regular, not as matte surface, and then I can just matte varnish afterwards. Back to the glossy metallics. I'm not sure if I should do anything. When it's a darker shelf, it doesn't look too bad. I'm a noob. We're all noobs. The shininess did cover my bad painting skills. The whole model is metallic. Yeah, as I said, I kind of like. I kind of like. Will that fit in? Maybe. I kind of like matte metallics. Strange reasons. So what I've got here is a Stormcast. There he is, Stormcast fella. And he's black. And I'm going to try and stipple on a bit of brown with, hold on, I just need to do this. Wait, no, wrong camera. There we are. I just need to get some paint on. Let's start at the back. So I kind of want to get brown on first, and then I want to do the same thing, but with like a bright yellow, and then add the gold. That's the plan. I have no idea if this works. I should also have a bit of a smaller sponge for the hard to reach areas. It's a bit dark, isn't it? I'll fix that in a sec. I'm just going to do this first. Then he's wondering if I use glossy primer. I do sometimes before I do an oil wash, but otherwise, not really. I could probably use it to touch up metallics, but I'd probably just go satin. Like gloss is usually very glossy. And I'm not much of a gloss kind of person. I should get the little sponge for like the leg there, but I mean, this is such a cool way of painting. Just look at that shield after a bit of sponging. But yes, this is brown still. It's not gold. I just figured maybe getting some brown on first would be a good idea. Don't know why. This is just experimenting. All right, I need to get that little sponge out, I think. Trazimo says, I like the idea of metallics, but the paints are too shiny. A lot of metal in real life is quite dull unless polished. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the things I don't like about metallic paints is the fact that it's actually about the shine of the surface of the paint and not always like the reflections in the metallic particles. Like if you paint with this dark silver, like a steel, and then you matte varnish it, it kind of looks like gray a lot of the time with a bit of a reflection, which kind of, in my world, proves the point that it's more about the fact that it's got a shiny varnish in it. Like it's the shine of the paint and not so much the metallic in it. And so in that case, I might as well just kind of paint it gray and add a glossy varnish-ish. That's kind of where I'm at. But as always, my hobbying is it's just me. It's personal. It's just my hobby. I'm no sort of never intend to be any kind of a guru who says that this is the way the world works, kind of thing. I just kind of paint, and then if people enjoy the look, they can get inspired by it. But it's not like I don't want to create any rules of how things should or shouldn't be painted. So don't listen to everything I say, please. Half of it is just mumbo jumbo. James says, for armor, I usually use gray and save the metallics for weapons and a few details. Yeah. Bit Arden, how are you doing? Girl Painting says, Alex, in most of your videos, you stray as far away from the actual lore of the minis themselves as possible. For example, your Space Marines invading a Hobbit home. Why do you dislike the lore so much? I don't think I dislike the lore. It's not... I'm not doing things like that out of spite. I think... I haven't actually analyzed this. It's an interesting question. My favorite German viewer. I think somewhere inside of me, I'm a little bit fascinated by the sort of very in general, sort of hardcore interest in Warhammer that extends to the point that people, you know, as many people won't watch a video if I don't paint a Warhammer model, even if it's about, like, say, this is a great way to paint red. If that's a red Space Marine, more people will watch the video because it's so hung up on the universe of Warhammer. Whereas I should be able to paint any miniature because the interest should be about how to paint red, because that's what the video is about. And that extends to so many things. And I totally get that people are into the lore and enjoy the lore. But I've always been like, well, there's plenty of good stories. And there's plenty of ways to paint miniatures. It's like, why aren't we watching scale modeling videos when we should paint our ultramarine tank? I'm sure that scale modeler has great tips and tricks. You know, I think that's kind of where it stems from, that it feels like by only staying inside of the Warhammer universe, we're shutting a lot of other good things out that could be inspirational, even if you like Warhammer. And since not many others are doing that kind of thing, then I've probably figured that maybe I can try and influence more, that it's about just having an interest. It's just about having a hobby. It's just about liking stories. It doesn't have to be specific stories. It's about, you know, you can be a fantasy nerd or a sci-fi nerd. You don't have to just stick to Warhammer. That's probably where it stems from. It doesn't stem from the fact that I hate Warhammer lore. I do, however, think that there's, you know, I've probably read about 10 Warhammer books, for instance, that should be the good ones. And I'm like, sure, it's an okay book, but there's a lot better books, why aren't we reading them? Kinda. I don't know. That was a weird answer. Then he was wondering a primer, not varnish. Okay, I asked because Yamini was so shiny black. I prefer a matte primer. This is a glossy primer because I primed these with my son, and what I had at home was a black army painter primer, so we used it. It turns out it's kind of gloss. There's no purposeful thought process. It's just I grabbed what was at hand, and that turned out to be a little bit glossy. If you had to play the Horus Heresy, loyalist or traitor, whichever one has the prettiest colors. James says he struggles to get a nice, neat, bright and shaded tabletop standard something, but the thing that's helped me the most has been learning to enjoy painting. Yeah, tabletop standard is tricky because it might not always be our standard. I'll see if I can make this a bit brighter and see if I can get this sponge into some unreachable areas. Come on, little sponge, do your thing, please. But what you were asking, girl painting, I obviously understand that if one is like totally hooked on the Warhammer universe, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's the ultimate pleasure bringer, then obviously one should stick to that. I just think there's so many that already do that, so I might as well do something else, kind of. Come on, Brown. Okay, as a test, I think this is going to have to do. Brown. Grasmo says, I get it. I used to build Land Rover roofs and the aluminium looked like shiny gray. Bronze looks like reflective brown. I guess it's the limitation of using reflective particles. Yeah. I mean, the good thing is you kind of get the right sort of color. Like gold, for instance, can be very tricky to try and paint, find a yellow that looks like gold. Whereas a metallic gold usually looks like gold, that kind of thing. James says, taking a light-hearted approach to even historicals is a nice change sometimes. The biggest hill to climb is getting that lovely starter set painted and played. Everything always takes more time than we expect them to when we see the box in the store and we think, oh my, that would be a fun game to play. And then you sit there and you're still painting a year later, which is kind of a little bit the essence of this hobby, the painting side of things. It just takes time. Obviously, depending on who you are. I've got a friend that can paint an army in like a day. Not really, but almost. Just sort of slapping on contrast paint and he's done and it looks neat and he's happy. Max W. Johnson says, "God jul, Alex." Well, good you. And Alvaro says, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Welcome to this little hobby hangout for Christmas times. Dresmo says, for me, the best novels from Black Library are the ones based around humans living the hell, or Space Marine novels from the viewpoint of a human person. I've mainly read the Dan Abnett ones, but also some others. And after reading a bunch, I've also kind of like, well, there's a lot of books to read, so I don't want to keep digging too much because other books should get the opportunity of my attention as well. Andy, Merry Christmas from Lviv, Ukraine. Was really glad to have met you earlier this year when you visited us. Hello, Andy. How are you doing? Merry Christmas to you as well, and great to have been, given the opportunity to visit you in Lviv. I hope you're doing okay. Girl Painting says, I agree that there are other stories that are far superior to Warhammer stories. The issue is just that some people might find offensive breaking the immersion of their own headcanon when you mix the lore. Well, I guess you'll have to see me as the annoying breaker of rules. And besides, there's a lot of other channels to watch in that case, Drazimo says, things take longer than we expect. The life of an ADHD. Yeah, only we kind of wish they wouldn't. Okay. Some ice yellow is next. And then the gold. I will just see if there was any point to this. I should have done another one, just black and stipple on the gold. But I'm not really here for doing the super advanced experiment. It's just something fun and easy to do during the stream. Ricky Tiki Twee is just curious. Where's your studio? Is that a secret? I mean, it's not really a secret. I'm in Stockholm, in Sweden. That's pretty much it. Tom says, happy holidays. Thank you for your videos. They're refreshing. Got me back into painting after a long time away. Well, I'm very glad you tell me these things. It's great. All these sort of, that's kind of, makes it worth it. So I appreciate it. And I'm glad you're back into painting. James says, it's always a little embarrassing when new editions of a game comes out and you haven't cracked the old one. You mean the box? You still haven't opened the old box when the new box comes out? Yeah. It shouldn't really have to matter, but that's more of how that's more of a business plan than I'm a kind of firm believer in the fact that if you buy miniatures, you should be able to use them even if you bought miniatures that are 3 years old, But all these companies need to sell new miniatures, so they figure out ways how to do it. Girl Painting says, fun fact, Alex's studio is on top of a lighthouse on a lone island in the Arctic. Kind of could be a lighthouse, couldn't it? A square one, I guess. There's a lot of windows. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Could be a lighthouse. I commute there every day. Yeah, there's a lot of emails to write, so I take my time answering YouTube comments on my way to the Arctic in my sort of James Bond villain helicopter or submarine or something. Okay. Let's see if I can get some ice yellow on this little thingy. What buttons should I press? These buttons. And okay, start with the back where no one can see. Just doing like the upper half, I think. I don't know if this is going to make any difference for the gold to come. With the little hammer should get some as well. There we are. Okay, that's it. And now there should be gold. This is the exciting part. A helicopter submarine. It sounds like a very, very James Bondish thing. Red Dr. Rain says, I missed it. What was that second color? This was an icy yellow just on top of the brown. I don't know why. I'm just messing about here. Something bright for the gold to sort of stick onto. I should have used a small sponge, I think. There's a bit too much on there. Is this non-metallic metal but with a sponge? Not really. I'm going to actually add metallic paint to this now. I just think that if I sponge on some gold, it might be nice to have something underneath instead of just black. And so I just added some brown with the sponge and then the icy yellow with the sponge. And now I'm going to try and sponge on gold paint, but just really thinly. So it maybe in some areas you actually see that brown underneath or something. Hopefully at least the black. We'll see. I'm just experimenting, maybe trying to figure out a way that my son can get some nice gold on his Stormcast. Because the great thing with the sponge is like you need like zero control. Like it's kind of the annoying thing when you start painting, especially when you're a kid, is like handling a brush and you're trying to get it in the small bits and you smudge it everywhere and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, there's still details that have to be painted, like a belt and whatever blue is supposed to go on wherever. But just to get that gold on, I'm just trying to see if this might be an alternative. Merry Christmas, Norbert. Denny is so curious if this will see through the gold. Yeah, me too. I'm going to thin the gold a lot. Rather do lots of passes of very thin paint than very thick one. Cosmo says, it's something I need to get better at, not being scared to experiment. It's only paint. It is indeed only paint. Which is, you know, after stages like this, it's a lot easier to experiment, like when you just go, especially when you have the mindset of like, I'm going to try and figure out a way how to paint this for a kid, kind of taking away all pretentious bullshit and just trying some things. It's a lot more difficult to be experimental when you've gotten a little ahead on the miniature and it's starting to look kind of nice and you don't want to ruin it. It's more difficult to be experimental then. But experimenting with ways of base coating or stuff like that is kind of easy. And I mean, if this totally fails, I can just reprime it black and just start over. Merry Christmas, Uncanny Jim Jams. Girl Painting says, my problem with the sponge was that it was far too big to get into tighter spaces. I cut off bits off the sponge and clamped it with a crocodile clamp. It's way more precise now. That's a good idea. If one has an old brush, one can kind of make a stamping tool out of it. I mean, one of the things I like with the really big ones is that they don't get into, like if we have, oh, sorry, wrong camera. There we are. If we have a look at like all this black that's still there, you know, there's still black kind of in his abs and stuff like that, you know, the sponge doesn't reach into those kind of areas. And so you instantly get that kind of depth happening. And the smaller the tool, the sort of easier it might be to get paint into places you don't want to reach. You get this kind of nice sort of zenithal vibe with the big sponge. But I totally get you. Like I have nothing in there. That's just black. And like, yeah. You can always alternate sponge and dry brush. Yeah, that's true. Sin says, kind of unrelated, but do you or anyone in the chat have strange issues with Scale 75 paints? Maybe I'm not shaking it enough, but it always feels a bit watery. Scale 75 paints need a lot of shaking. They also have, like they do have a lot of stuff in them. There's a lot of, first of all, they're matte, so they've had to add quite a lot of like matting agent into there. Most, this is just going to be weird painting facts, but most pigments, like what you actually make the paint out of, when mixed into a paint, have a sort of satin vibe. That's sort of the nature of many pigments, is that they're actually by themselves, when dried, sort of like as a paint, they look satin. And so to make something look matte, you need to add like a matte varnish into the paint. Scale 75 also adds other things for like to make it sort of a bit gooey, flowy kind of a thing. I've got quite a few. So that one of the things then means it needs to be shaken really, really well, because all that stuff needs to get mixed together. But also the paint in itself is, I really like it, but it is often not something you want to use to get like one nice and easy covering layer. It's kind of not what the paint is designed for. It's more sort of designed to add thin layers of different paints onto each other, like to create gradients or, you know, shadows and highlights, you know, a kind of advanced painting. And then they're really nice to use because you don't, that's kind of what they're designed for, in my mind. Often with paints it's not that there's like one universal, this is what a good paint is. Different paints are kind of created to be good at different things. If you don't look at the really big ones, you know, then there's a lot of decisions taken. Like if you look at Army Painter paints or stuff like that, they're kind of intended to be something that most people, including people new to the hobby, can use and get in a sort of simple layer and wash kind of workflow and get decent results. And Scale 75 isn't a paint where that has been kind of considered. It's been sort of considered being like paint in this manner and it'll be really nice for you. So, for instance, one thing that I think, at least my sometimes experience with like Army Painter paints, for example, is that a lot of them are pretty low saturated. There's a lot of paints that don't have a lot of strong color. They kind of desaturate on the model, and that's probably because they have a lot of like gray or white and black and other things mixed in, so that the paint will cover well. But if you do that, you kind of miss out sometimes on strong colors because you've diluted the strong colored pigment with other things to make it cover well. And then maybe some scale 75 paints aren't doing that, and they've got really strong color, but they become sort of transparent, you know. Obviously, there's also price differences, because if you look, these are actually in the wrong tubs. These paints over here, they're artist paints, so flat paints from Golden. The tubs kind of look, they look like this in their original version. And this is very, like, expensive art paints. And even though these are like single pigment paints, they just cover so well because of the quantity of pigments and the quality of pigments. You can buy the same, like this yellow, whatever, blah, blah, blah pigment can be bought at different cost, depending on like the quality of it. And so like along the line, there's so many different things that can affect a paint. But yes, scale 75 has that thing going for it, and it's kind of probably intentional. How many of chat thingies have I missed? Not that many. Great. Side Quest Games says, before all this, what were you doing? Your whole vibe shouts writing to me, so my guess is journalism. I'm a photographer. I still am a photographer. This is just my side business. Now imagine how many hours I work. Victor Riviera, how are you doing? Hello, just wanted to pass by and wish a happy holiday to everyone. Well, a happy holiday to you as well, Victor. Great to see you. Girl Painting says, I recommend to add a mixing bowl to the paints. Definitely, Girl Painting is onto something. One of these. I would not be able to mix like scale 75 paints without like some of them even I need like a paint shaker thingy, but definitely mixing bowls. And sometimes you just really need to sit there for like longer than you think to mix paints. Stretch, how are you doing, Stretch? All these lovely people are here and saying hi. Merry Christmas. Side Quest Game says, little balls are amazing. Only just got into using them more. It's the best comment of today. Definitely see the pigment pull from the bottom, yes. KR613, hope everyone has a good Christmas. Thought I'd drop in and say hi. Well, thank you for saying hi, and have a happy holiday, you too. Chaos is sculpting some minis while listening, hanging out, so it's kind of a little reassuring knowing I'm not the only one doing stuff that isn't family. Well, that's one of the reasons I'm here today. I usually stream on Twitch, if all of you don't already know that. I used to stream more on YouTube, but the whole back-end thing became too complicated and didn't work out, so I jumped over to Twitch, which I know a lot of people aren't used to streaming, don't really end up watching things on Twitch. But it's not, the stream looks exactly, I mean, what's happening right here now is exactly what happens on Twitch. So there's no difference apart from it makes my life easier with the back end. So for those of you that are watching that kind of want more of these kind of live streams, I live stream once a week on Twitch. Not right now because it's going to be Christmas holidays with my son, but Yeah, just wanted to say that. It's kind of difficult to get people to move over from YouTube to Twitch, but if you like live streams, you are most welcome to come hang out with me over there. I'm now watering down my gold paint with lots of water, which is something people don't usually recommend you to do. Because it kind of can separate the paint. It's better to use like airbrush medium or some other medium, but I figured since I'm going to sponge this on, it shouldn't really matter. Maybe it will matter. So you look at this, it's kind of interesting. I just pulled this gold out on my tissue here. I don't know if you can see it, but you see lots of silver, shiny particles, and brown paint. It doesn't really look like gold anymore, so maybe I shouldn't, like it doesn't, the metal pigments have kind of separated from the color of the paint. I don't know how well you can see that, but I can see silver, small silver grains surrounded by brown paint. So maybe I should try dilute with something else. SideQuest Games says, I come from magazine publishing, love your work and your humor. Well, thank you. I'm sometimes feel like I'm kind of a bit too grown up, and sometimes it's the opposite. So when someone writes balls, I just can't help myself. Simon Young says, happy Christmas. Happy Christmas to you too as well. And draws, 72. Balls and draws. Michael Strange says, I made a DIY paint shaker with a reciprocating saw and a small clamp attached to the blade. Even the dreaded ceramite white is no match for it. That's pretty cool. I have one of these weird things on the subject of adult toys. But this was sent to me at some point from Green Stuff World. I really hate it. No offense. You're supposed to put the paint in this thing, and then you press the thing, and the paint spins. And everything shakes so much, so you really need to hold on to this pretty hard. And then if you do that, then about a minute later, your hand, you can feel like, okay, that's not good for my nerves, is it? You get this tingling sensation. So if I use this, I try and like not hold it, and I sit like this, and I realize what I'm doing and how silly this is, and then I just put it away. Yeah. Letho turned a sander into a paint shaker by adding a wooden cradle on one screw. I like all the DIY stuff. Good morning from Louisiana. Hello, Jose Maria Luxing Garcia. Good morning and happy holidays. Jason says Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you as well. Love your, Jose says, love your channel and content. Well, thank you very much. Trazimo says, I mean, I just see myself and most other men as little boys with responsibilities. Yeah. Iki says, hello from Argentina. Happy Christmas to you all. Well, happy holidays to you in Argentina. It's good to see you. And Brew says, happy Christmas. I'm currently painting some Kev Adams goblins while waiting for the big Christmas dinner. I had my big Christmas dinner yesterday as I'm in Sweden. Not really eating much today, I don't think. Kind of did all the eating yesterday. Ozzy from Poland says, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Ozzy. Okay, so I need to dilute my gold paint with something else. I could do a paint medium. I have a mixing medium here. Or I could do airbrush thinner. Let's try just airbrush thinner. Chris, how are you doing? Have I seen you, Chris, in a while? I haven't. Where have you been, Chris? Chris says, Merry Christmas from Jordan. Drove into the photo VOD after some traveling. Ah, including Gothenburg. Always something to learn. Yeah, I tried to do so I have a patron set up. Thank you, all you great patrons who support me. And I being giving people the opportunity to, like, if there's anything they want me to go through, to discuss in live streams as a bonus for patrons, they get to be like, oh, I want to kind of, can you show me this, or how does this work, or whatever. And if I can help, then I'll try. And so I did one on taking pictures of miniatures, which is kind of difficult, to be honest. Okay, is this holding up better? Yeah, maybe a little bit, maybe not much. What if I add some medium? Okay, so this turned complicated. I don't want to have people to have to do this. Okay, screw it. I'm just gonna, it'll have to be a bit of water, bit of whatever. Okay. David says, Merry Christmas from Belgium. Well, Merry Christmas to you as well. Rosemo says, maybe I should put the paint in my 9-year-old son's rucksack. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. I always thought I should have some kind of clip thing so I could put them on, like, do you call it the spokes or spoke on a wheel for a bicycle? You know, the little metal wire thick things that on each one of those be able to put a paint bottle when I ride my bike to work. That'd be nifty. Jose is wondering how many Squidmar open here. I don't know. W, Merry Christmas, Alex. Well, Merry Christmas to you as well. Girl Painting says, you mean your submarine helicopter bike? Yes, exactly. Jason and his fiancée Sarah says hello and Merry Christmas. Well, hello, Jason and Sarah. Hope you have a good holidays, or whatever you call it. I'm trying to be politically correct, you know. Okay, I've now got gold paint in my sponge. And when I sponge it out, it just looks like yellow. I wonder if there's going to be any shine from this. I have no idea. Let's try adding some gold. Well, that's thin and yellow. I should have another type of gold paint, I think. Or a not diluted gold paint. See, this is why I want experiments. Let's try the gold without that much, or without any dilution, basically. I think I just ruined the paint by diluting it. And kind of doesn't look like gold. Or I need to go find another gold. Let's try that again. Now it kind of looks a bit more like gold. I'm not really sure if I like this gold. But it does look like gold. This is kind of nice. Now I just need to know when to stop so I don't ruin the sort of the work that went before it, I guess. Coin sponge. That's actually kind of nice. I should probably have gone for the little sponge. Probably would have been great on like a brown primed mini. It's looking a bit harsh. So maybe sponged on a lot more brown, not left as many blacks in there. Gonna get that little sponge and Jason is wondering if I've been playing anything lately. Oh wait, I can give you a little picture of myself. There we are. Not really. I just need to squeeze this sponge out. I'm really want to get these Age of Sigmar minis done so I can play some with my son, as well as get my Weird Orcs going so I can play a bit of Silver Bayonet with him. I just can't seem to find the time to play with people outside of my family at the moment. Just all my time goes into making videos when I'm not working, essentially. At some point, I'll hopefully be able to change that, but I also kind of have to accept what my life looks like at the moment and just not feel terrible about that. That I'm not getting much gaming done. I would like to play more games, but it just, yeah, right now it's not happening. I'm trying to exaggerate the gold now, get it where there is black, because that will probably render a darker gold is my hope. At least some kind of golden shine. But I'm not sure. I should have had more brown first, which is the reason for experiments like these. It's still a pretty cool look, but the more gold I stipple on, the less of that first sort of effect is visible, I guess. I really turned into hobby mode now. Sorry, I just want to get this on so I can concentrate on the chat afterwards. And I'm going to see if I can find a brighter gold to add on top of this as part 2 of the experiment. Or maybe I should add a wash. Jose says, I'm working on a Scottish guy with a bagpipe and all the tartan thing. Oh my, that sounds terribly like a lot of painting happening. W says, I agree on the black undercoat. That gold on ivory gray looks real nice though. Yeah, I think if I would have stippled on more brown, because I kind of want to work from the black base coat because that's how we've done these miniatures. And a lot of people, like if you just think in general terms, if people go by like just a few hobby supplies and you get a primer, it's probably going to be black. It's only when you really get into the hobby that you like start planning your like, okay, this army is going to look like this, so I should have a blue primer or I should have a brown primer or whatever. But if you're at the really basic level and you're actually just getting, you're still counting your bottles of paint and stuff like that, then chances are black is the primer that you will have. And so I kind of want to try working from a black primer just from that perspective, you know, trying to get some of the gold paint out. My little sponges. Stretch says, it must have been 7 months since I painted anything that was not a door frame or a wall, but I'm feeling inspired. Well, that's good. I hope you didn't try and like stipple it with a little brown first and then like do the edges of the wall in a bit of a brighter yellow and then try and stipple yellow gold all over the wall. All right, do I have a brighter gold? Excuse me for a second, I'm just gonna have a look. It's a good thing I didn't have my fly open. It's always embarrassing when that happens. I'm over here. There's paint racks over here. I don't really know why. What's this? This is metallic paints. And that's also metallic paints. Why is there so much paint everywhere? This is also metallic paints. Oh dear. And that's metallic paints. What's this? Rulic gold. Oh, that's darker. So what's all this nonsense? Elven gold. That was bright. Brightish. What's this? Oh, that's a nice paint. Radiant platinum. Okay. So many paints. So little time. I'm going to try that paint. What else have I got? No. Okay. This is a Peridot Alchemy, scale 75 metallic paint. Add a drop of silver to your current gold, perhaps. Thank you, Michael, because I'm trying to make this nice and easy for people. Let's add a drop of silver. Cold steel, boiler black, quick silver. I haven't opened this. Thanks, Michael. I am trying to help people mostly, at least with these paint jobs. And so going, buy this weird scale 75 paint is not going to help me. Merry Christmas, Rob. Painting up some Battletech this morning. That sounds lovely. Numi says, Alex, I asked my girlfriend for makeup sponges for this Christmas because of you. That's a good gift. Itsu says, hi, Alex, Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you as well. Then he says, I wouldn't worry about my fly. I'll be worried where my pants are. True. Numi says, good Yule, which is Merry Christmas from here as well. I gave my siblings all the gifts I painted for them. They liked them. Crafting Christmas presents is a lot more stress than just buying things. Yes. I had a plan. I've got a miniature I wanted to have painted for my son for Christmas. But I ended up not having the time, which is a bit of a shame. I wonder where my speed paint metallics are, because that would probably be a good thing for the video, maybe. If this is going to end up in a video, I don't know. I thought I had speed paint metallics. Maybe I've misplaced them. Broadsword silver, that's a metallic. And here's hoplite gold. So I probably should have used these instead of the Peach 3 paints, because this is, stuff that people can get their hands on. What does hoplite gold look like? It's not as yellow. I don't know if anyone's interested, but that over there is the hoplite gold. And that was the P3 gold, which was very yellow. I don't know if there's any other golds in the speed paint, or if hoplite gold is like the gold. I'll just put some hoplite gold on to see what it looks like. Again, experiments here, experiments. Sorry about the rattling. Numi says, the biggest problem with gifting art is you make is perfectionism. You could work on the gift forever. Yeah, that's kind of true, isn't it? But I'm sure they'll be very happy with what they got. So good on you for doing that. Merry Christmas. I kind of never tried to pronounce the nickname, man. Star Striker X. I always think of your name and not the nickname. It's kind of funny to just go by people's nicknames. I hope you're well. All right. So just for my own benefit, I'm going to actually stipple on a bit of this other gold, which doesn't make any sense. That's just for me to see the color and to figure out how it stipples on. In case I'm going to be recommending this to my son, I don't want to have to be like, yeah, use this weird paint, or not this paint, and then that paint. As few things as possible should be happening. Numi says, Perio Alchemy is my favorite and go-to gold for my Lizardman. Yeah, I think it's actually fabulous. Where did I put it? Did I put it back? A fabulous gold, especially like a gold highlight. It's great. It's kind of got a little bit of more that greenish gold tint. I lost my sponge. Itsu says, how do you find using a sponge compared to, say, stipple with a dry brush? I find that because there's so much moisture in the sponge, the paint never dries. Really. So there's never any worry of that sort of dry thing that can happen with dry brushes. It also has a very hard time getting into the crevices. Whereas if you dry brush, you can still, like when the ends of the brush, I don't know if I can demonstrate this, but like, say dry brushing here, and there's still that right where the brush kind of falls down each little step. There's a chance of getting paint into that very sort of crevice. One has to be so very delicately light-handed, actually sort of paying attention to what one is doing, whereas with the sponge, that just doesn't happen. I can just stipple on and like watch television at the same time, even though I don't own a television. And and it kind of happens without having to be very precise. I also kind of like the texture. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but I mean, it does leave a slight sort of texture, a sort of bumpy texture in places, depending on how many layers of sponging and what kind of paint and so on and so forth. That I kind of like, especially on a metallic. It actually looks really good. But ease of use, I'd say, is what I like. Okay, let's see how this. If there's a. So this is just sort of a darker gold. I'm going to put some of this on just to be in. If this is maybe the paint I should tell my son to use, then I want to see what it looks like. I'm just going to cover some of that P3 gold. Okay, and now I'm going to try mixing some silver into it to see if I can get a highlight. Jose is wondering, Alex, do indie companies reach out to you often to promote, do stuff with them? I guess yes. It depends. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I think after a few years, you know, it goes around what kind of like creator you are or you aren't. I do sponsored videos, but I only do sponsored videos for money, which is based on the fact that if I have lots of ideas for videos that I want to do, but I need sponsored videos to be able to do this. And so if I'm going to do sponsored videos, then it might as well be for the money. You know, I still pick only things that I actually enjoy. So I get offers for lots of things that I say no to because it doesn't suit me or my hobby or anything like that. But I also only, you know, because it can take 2 weeks to make a video. So I need to get paid for the time for those 2 weeks. And if I don't get paid for it, then I might as well do something that is just completely my own idea. And usually indie companies, small companies don't have the money. And so then I won't do it, to be honest. And it's not because of greed, it's because of trying to get the equation together of actually being able to do YouTube. Which is not making me any money at all, but at least I try to get paid for the time that I'm making YouTube, you know, because YouTube itself doesn't generate money, really. And so, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. Evil Miniature says, God fortsättning, which is Swedish. Saw that you were here and just wanted to wish you a good end to 2025. Well, thank you. And good luck with your shopping and cleaning. Okay, I'm going to see what happens if I add some silver to my gold. Why was I shaking the gold and not the silver? That's kind of silly. Done shaking paints. I'm not sure if that's actually going to make a highlight or if it's just going to make it silver, because these are kind of dark. There's the silver. If I put silver in the gold, it doesn't actually brighten it up. I need a brighter silver. What's this? There's gooey things in my paint. Maybe because it's a speed paint silver. darn it. So let's just go for the silver I had before, which is a brighter silver. And I'll add a little bit of gold to that. That's the wrong gold, that's the brown paint. Okay, this is going well. Bit of gold. Mix that. We kind of got a gray thing happening. Let's just stipple that on, see what it looks like. Now this is just to get something a bit brighter or whatever's kind of sticking out. It's probably not going to be super visible, but it does actually do a little bit of extra shine. That's pretty cool. Maybe a bit too much silver. Oh well. There we are. Something about the sponging that actually sort of takes the, it's like the texture does something to it. It looks a bit more like paint, yellow paint, than a metallic, I guess. I don't know why. Probably all the black underneath, I don't know. I'm now going to try add a wash to it. This is all just still experimentation. I just don't know what happens. I've got the trusted Reichland Flesh shade. Will says, everyone I shared your channel with has been really impressed with the production quality. Thank you for continuing to put out quality content. Well, thank you, Will. I appreciate the fact that you've been sharing my videos. Dale says, happy holidays, my friend. No worries on the mix right there. That burnished brass look is great to start with. Yeah, but it's supposed to be gold, darn it. New Squalor says, wow, Alex is up. I am. I took a, I realized I think I've been doing this for the past 2 years, doing like a Christmas stream. And I figured I might as well do it on YouTube and not on Twitch, as Twitch has been like the thing recently, just to make sure sort of new subscribers and stuff like that probably haven't even seen me live stream. And now I can say, if you're enjoying it, you can check me out on Twitch. Lumi says, might be the same thing that happens with a matte varnish. You're creating micro textures which captures the shine. Yeah, I agree. That is probably what is happening, which is kind of fine. With a brown, more brown underneath, this would have looked like gold. Because of the black, it kind of doesn't, which is good learning. So maybe even just covering everything with just brown first, even brushing it on. It doesn't have to look good. It just has to be there for a shade. Okay, let's wash this thing. Do I have a brush that is not a brush I care about? Here we have a brush that I don't care about. Itsu says, do you have a schedule on Twitch? I rarely go there lately. Yeah, normally every Thursday. That's kind of the thing as well. I stream during the day here in Sweden. So there's a reason why a lot of people can't watch it on Thursdays. It's because I figured out I can only schedule a stream when it's during the day on a regular day and not a weekend. Like I have a son, we do things on the weekends. I have other life and family things that kind of happen during weekends. I can't regularly stream. It just doesn't work. So it's on Thursdays, like around 1 or 2 o'clock, I think 3 o'clock Central European time on Thursdays. It's not going to be on for a few weeks because of holidays, but that's the regular schedule. Okay, let's try some of this wash thingy. On here. The wash doesn't really do the same thing either when it's been sort of stippled because it flows into all that little sort of micro texture I've created. But I don't care. It's also kind of fun to see what paints are reactivated by a wash. It's a thing that sometimes happens. You get sort of reactivation happening sometimes when you add a wash and you're not really quite sure if your speed paint will handle a wash or not. It's always exciting. I mean, it's a pretty nice gold, to be honest. It's a bit kind of maybe grim and dark, but it's supposed to be, isn't it? This whole thing should probably be blue or something, but not going there yet. Oh, there's the axe as well. Come on, wash, do your thing. That's probably a bit too much. There we are. What spots have I missed? There's some gold right there. And this kind of leg as well. Might as well. And there's a hand. Oh, and there's a side of the shield. Oops. Okay, I think I have gotten wash everywhere. Clean up some of the puddles. And now this needs time to dry. Well, it's a pretty decent gold, to be honest. We'll see what it looks like when the wash is dry. James Lucas says, is it possible that more of the metallic flakes are being captured by the sponge, so less is deposited onto the model? That is also a possibility. Interesting. Could be. Who knows? I mean, it's still kind of goldy. But yeah, it could be. Dale says, right now, but right, I know, but not every chocolate cake mix ends up being the same every time, and it gives you an opportunity to work with a metallic shadow color. Ooh. I feel like I missed something there. Jason says, have you reached out to Joe McCullough about Silver Bayonet? Maybe you guys could talk about the game. I haven't actually. I mean, the people at Osprey like me. They send me books and stuff. I mean, that's if we talk about sponsorships and stuff, that's that comes from me. I just go, I find a game and I get interested in that game and I buy a book, and I might make videos on it, and then the company that makes the game or whatever kind of wants to say thanks somehow. So I think Osprey, they send me some rule books every now and again, sometimes even some sort of North Star. I think I got a kit, a Frostgrave kit, something like that, as sort of a thanks, which is nice. But there's no like deal or anything. I don't. I just get interested in things I see, and then I make a video on it, and sometimes then the company reaches out to sort of say thanks. I like doing, like, sometimes if you make a video about a game, it's fun to do an interview with the person that's created the game. But it's also so much work, so sometimes I've done videos on games where I talk to people who've been involved in the game production side of things. Like everything I've done on the War Transformed has just been because I think the game is cool and I want to make videos about it. And so I reached out to the guy who wrote it, and I did a long interview with him because I thought that was fun. But it's also like, I mean, if you imagine just the sort of production side of things, of filming like an interview, going through all that material, editing it, it's a big commitment for a video that people won't watch because it's not about Warhammer, So sometimes I just have to prioritize away that kind of things because it's not what gets views. Like if you're really interested in a specific game, it might be interesting to hear something from the person who created it. But in the grand scale of things, as soon as you jump away from Warhammer, then that's not what people watch, which is a shame. But it's just the way of things. And so sometimes I just can't justify adding in another couple of days of production time just because I want to have an interview in a video. Did I miss rim of the neck front up? Yes, I did. Thank you for that. Fixed. Thank you. Also, the sides of the pauldrons. There we are. Rob says, I think the gold looks quite nice. It's grimdark gold. It is kind of a bit grimdark gold, which is fun. I appreciate grimdark gold. And I think if one would just, like, there's not much highlights happening. Does anyone have any experience of these speed paint metallics? Is like hoplite gold and broadsword silver the standard gold and the standard silver? Because they felt dark. That's probably because of the speed paint thing. Maybe I should just use, I think somewhere there's regular army painter golds and silvers. Radiant platinum, sounds like fun. This is all alchemy paints. What's that? Bronze. Yeah, whatever. Jason says those interview videos are really good, though. Yeah, I mean, I really like making them, but there's a YouTube is weird. It really affects the content of the creator, even if it shouldn't, but it does, because it obviously it depends on the creator. But if the creator is economically slightly dependent on the content, then YouTube's algorithm will change and compromise whatever is in the video. An example is like I've not really had many views this entire year because I've been not doing, I've just been doing my thing. And then I did recently a video on painting lots of Skaben rats, which is kind of, it was because my son got the box, but I also knew that this is probably going to do well because it's about painting lots of miniatures relatively fast. And it's from the current starter box for Age of Sigmar, and it's Warhammer. And lo and behold, that video did very well. It's done almost 10 times as good as my regular videos. That means 10 times the income. And so it's kind of a big sacrifice to do, how many people would intentionally cut their income by 10 just because they just wanted to do what no one else is doing, kind of. So obviously it affects all of us who make YouTube. The most interesting thing is if you look at how that works is like the analytics of a video like that is like only maybe 3 or 4% of the people that watch that video came from the subscriptions page. The other 90% came from YouTube recommendations. So the majority of all the people that watched that video got to see it because YouTube chose to promote the video to people that usually don't watch my channel. And these people become new subscribers, and some of them join my Patreon, and it's like that's what makes you not decline. It's not about just going straight and always getting the same thing. It's either you go up or you go down, kind of a thing. And it's a constant, every video I make, I'm like, should I make one of my videos or one of my videos with a twist that might make people watch, and I still always try and base it around my hobby of what's, actually going on in my private life, which is hobby related. Like my son got the Age of Sigmar starter box. I didn't go out and get it because I thought it would bring in views. But then I realized that, okay, so if I make a video about painting the Skaven and not just paint them at home, maybe that will get me some people watching, and that's just the way it works. And if we wouldn't be doing that kind of stuff, then a lot of channels probably wouldn't be around in a way. And a lot of people stop watching interviews, unfortunately. It's just not a thing. I don't know why. Boss Grob, Merry Grobmas to all good you crumps. You too. Mr. MS Paint. Not the MS Paints, but Mr. MS Paints. I'm painting cow print Tyranids. That's terribly fun. Eco says the armor painter has another gold glittering loot or something like that, but I don't know how it is. I think because I believe I have the regular paint somewhere, maybe at home. But yeah, let's have a look at this. I kind of like it. Bit of a highlight somehow on that. And it's a pretty good gold. I should try and put some other colors in. I'm not sure what pauldron should be. Probably this pauldron should be a bit blue. We'll leave the other one gold. We'll just put a blue on that pauldron. Maybe some silver on the plate mail. and a bit of a brown on the belt, and we can actually just see what it looks like when it's in more of just the gold. Let's find a blue. Suitable, I'm just going to go for suitable Stormcast blue. Caspian blue. No. I've got a fun blue jeans color, haven't I? Uniform blue. Now we're talking. Perigar says, time for bed. Thanks for the Christmas hangout. Enjoy the holidays, everyone. Well, you enjoy your holiday as well, Perigar. It's great to see you. Okay, that's a lovely blue. Ooh, I think my brushes still have brush soap in them. Let's just add a bit of brush soap to the mix. Aaron says, really appreciate all your personal project content. I can understand your frustration about how YouTube steers you towards certain content. Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely, I'm happy YouTube exists, you know. It's just, it's kind of frustrating having a boss that doesn't tell you what you should be doing and then just pays you less when you do the wrong thing, but doesn't say what the right thing is, you know. Aaron says, I chose to stay in an industry that I really like, even though I make less money than I could in the current industry. I mean, that's true as well. I do the same thing with, you know, kind of photography and stuff like that. The problem is, you know, YouTube is not, I make like $200 to $300 a month on YouTube. That's not even staying in an industry that buys me food, you know. So, okay, a bit of blue. Try not to mess up the gold. I don't know how I would get my son to like do this step. Maybe this is the dad step. Ooh, sorry, I'm out of focus. You know, got a bit of blue there, but you know, he's relatively decent with the brush, but just not smudging the gold right now is requires more than I just started to paint miniatures and I'm 10 years old kind of thing, unless you're someone who's been painting a lot, I guess, as a kid. I really like the way his Stormcaster worked out. It's just, I can see his frustration sometimes when he has an idea of what something should look like and it doesn't, that's not what it ends up looking like. There should probably be blue on the shield, but I don't know if I'm going to go there. I wonder if there's any, if there would be an easier way to get a color onto that shield than maybe if I had like a blue speed paint or something, just to change the tone of that into something blue. Or if I had a blue speed paint, it'd end up green, wouldn't it? I'll have to ponder that. Is there anything else that should be blue? I don't think so. Grab a brown for the belt. W says, I have to run. Christmas dinner and such. Good luck with all. Well, it's good to see you. EQ says, do you have a favorite book you read this year, Alex? Well, actually, tomorrow I'm going to release a video. That is my 10 best hobby-related thingies from 2025. It's actually called, I think I just went with the same title as I did last year, which is like 10 unexpected hobby things for 2026, you know, but who cares? It's about my 10 best list of 2025. That has random things, miniatures, paints, and whatnot. It also has books. So if you watch the video tomorrow, it's a bit of a cliffhanger, you can find out what my best read was last year. Or, you know, this year isn't over, but you get my point. It should be up tomorrow morning, maybe. The video's done. I didn't want to release it today because everyone's busy eating turkey or whatever people do for Christmas. There's a brown. Why do I have so many paints down here so I can't see what I've got? That's not the brown I want. That's not the brown I want. I want this brown. I'm also, as I said earlier in the stream, the next year I want to try and start up a book recommendation channel instead of doing the book recommendation videos, because that didn't work out with the algorithm either. So I want to start up a adjacent channel, just going. I really like doing the sci-fi and fantasy book recommendations. So I figured, why not just have it on a separate channel? And so whoever wants to watch it can watch it. Haven't started doing them yet, though, so don't start harassing me about it. But it'll pop up at some point. Cal Pearson says, your vids always hit the spot like a warm, tasty hobby biscuit. Thanks from Continental Divide in the US. Well, you're welcome, and thank you for letting me know. Kaor was great to listen while sculpting, and now I have a good jumping off point for a giant angry bug creature as my next project. Cool. We'll try and watch the Twitch streams when those are on. Yeah, they'll start popping up sort of mid-January every Thursday on Twitch. Jason is wondering, will you do Black Library books? If I read one, I've read, I mean, I probably maybe backtrack a bit. There are book recommendations videos on my YouTube channel, old ones. There's probably a playlist for that you can check out if you want to see some of my old videos from there. I'm probably going to reuse some of that. If I start a new channel, I might as well add past reads, you know, even books I've recommended in the past. I don't really read that many Black Library books. I probably mostly, as I said before, read the Dan Abnett things. But yeah, it's kind of just what I read, and not so much of my reading is Black Library books. But a bit of brown. Too much paint in my brush. A bit more brown. Kind of just want to get this on so that I can see a bit better how the gold works. Probably that scabbard thing should have been blue. That would have been nice. I need a smaller brush. Okay. Maybe a bit of brown on this thing. Is there anything else that should be brown? Not really. I'll add some blue to that scabbard. Might as well. There we are. Whoops, got some blue on the brown. Okay. Oh yeah, there's always straps. I forgot. We've got little straps. Brown, brown, and brown, and brown. That should be about it. And some silver. Probably should just try brush. Let's try this broadsword silver again. Scott, how are you doing? Did you and your son ever make it through Lord of the Rings? We're halfway through the last book. It's when all the excitement happens, really. It's funny because now it's so exciting that he's getting really bothered about the Tolkien-esque way of writing. You know, it's like, what? I don't care if Pippin sits watching things for like 6 pages. Hello, fly. You should be dead. You know, when's the Rohan guys coming, and you're like, read page after page after page of descriptions of mountains and clouds and whatnot, and then it's like, time to go, time to sleep. We'll see tomorrow if the Knights of Rohan show up or not. And he's like, it's been fine up until now, but now it's just so exciting that he's not quite appreciating all the detailed descriptions. This silver really is dark. Let's change this to silver then. Whoa, watery. Does it continue on the back? Yes, it does. Okay, the speed paint silver was not what I wanted it to be right now. Probably give that a black wash and then find another silver to highlight it with. Chris says, just heard about the Temeraire series, Napoleon era with dragons. Huh. Can you like text me that or something? So I don't forget, please. Rob just sponged some Liquitex gold ink into gray prime model. Interesting effect. Lots of gold glitter with minimal opacity. Makes the model kind of pearlescent. Cool. Red says, I love watching people paint. They're so confident with their strokes. They just go for it. It's kind of, yeah. It's one of those, I don't know when I completely feel your thing, because I've always kind of felt the same thing. And I don't know when it really started happening for me, like maybe 2 years back or something. When I realized I was doing that thing that I thought other people were doing that I wasn't capable of doing. And so, you know, you can do it. It'll, if you keep painting, it'll happen. Hello, Finkeldicken. It's a great nickname. I've never actually thought about your nickname, I don't think. Finkeldicken. It's funny. Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas to all you who celebrate, and happy Yule, and a good day for the rest of us. What did Target Hawk say? I missed. I missed a few here. Sorry, non-sleeper. Hello from Canada. Hello. Target Hawk says, there you are. Guys, I don't want to alarm you all, but I think I might have more than 52 minis. PS recently found your channel with a Clan video. I love your stuff. Well, welcome to the channel. People always ask me where it comes from, and I try and answer different things every time. It was essentially just that I needed a name for the channel when I started the channel. But whatever fun things you could make up about 52, the better. The last good one I heard was Jamie, I think, a patron, who answered a comment in the comment section of another video saying it was the amount of corpses I've got in my basement. I believe it's also the number of cards in a deck and the number of squares on a chessboard. No, that's got to be more than 52. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, there's lots of 52 things. What was I doing? I was painting stuff. Should I just highlight that blue while we're at it? I'll add a wash to it, actually. If I'm going to black wash the... I'll just keep going with the grimdark. If I'm going to black wash the silver, I might as well black wash the blue and then highlight it, just for funsies. Same with the brown. Let's just go black wash everywhere. I really like the Army Painter black wash. Actually, it's not as strong. I don't think I've got it here though. I think I took it home so that if my son wants to paint, it's there. If I haven't got another one over there, wait, just give me 1 second. Just reading things. I'm getting confused. People are writing about books all of a sudden. I thought this was a hobby channel. Come on, guys. I love it. Bob says, nice studio. Well, thank you. Happy holidays, says Quodendal. Okay, I'm going to go find that. I think I might have a black wash right over here. I haven't left you. I'm still here. I'm just walking. I see. No, that's a military shade and a warm tone. Damn it. Okay. I thought it was a black wash, but it was a military shade and a warm skin tone. I just recognized the red lids. This is actually one of the smarter things they've done, to be honest. To have different colored lids on things, so you just know that it's a wash because it's got a red top, and like the other ones are white, I think, and the metallics are black. Small things like that are kind of smart. Let's just use the Nuln oil. Red says, the wife just woke up, y'all. Have a good Christmas and bye. Have a good Christmas. Wolfland, how are you doing? Have I said hi? Were you here before? I can't remember. Destiny brackets. I'm not quite sure I got you there. 52. This is the 52-second identity he has. Was that like meant as a mean thing or a fun thing? I can't really figure it out. Black wash. Whoa, that's a lot of black. Kind of why I like the Army Painter speed paint. It's not as black and kind of flows a bit more into the recesses and just doesn't tone everything as black. But there we are. And let's just do the blue as well, just because I can. And then this bit. And that bit and that bit. Corndall says, been loving Grimdark Shadow from the John Blanche Army Painter set. Yeah, no, I never got that one. I don't really know why. I probably shouldn't say things, but I kind of got a bit weird there because they contacted me and asked me if I wanted to be in a video talking about John Blanche. And the army painter, and I asked if the video was just going to be about John Blanche and it was going to be about the paint. And I was a bit like, well, I'd love to say nice, cool, inspirational things about John Blanche, but if you want me in a video selling your paint, then I want money. And they never sent me a set, so I couldn't really say much about the paints then. Finkel Lincoln got the Blanche set as a gift this year. Cool. You'll have to let us know how that works out. Jan says, your videos on oil-based paints got me interested, so I got some, and I'm looking forward to testing them on my Trench Crusade models that just arrived. Just hope the prints are all right. Cool. Actually, that was my only Christmas present for me. Well, actually, I got myself 2 Christmas presents, which is kind of, one of them is really boring and lying, and no, it's not lying, but it's not really like a Christmas present. But I had to buy a new tripod for my film camera. So it's more of a work thing, but I had to excuse the price by saying it was a Christmas gift to myself, because I don't know, if you ever get into like professional photography or filmmaking, just prepare to say goodbye to all your monies, because it's like everything is just silly. Because my other tripod kind of broke down, I had to get a new one, and I was like, okay, I need to get something better than the other one because I don't want anything that breaks down. I go into the camera store and they're like, how about this one? And you look at it and it's like, yeah, but it says like 5,000 euro. It's tripod, man. This one says like 7,000 euro. It's just a tripod, man. And so I went for the cheapest of the expensive, which was 2,000 euros for a freaking tripod. It's kind of silly. But I got myself some oil paints. See, this is my Christmas present for myself. Paper bag. 2 brushes. Joink. And 4 oil paints. Yay! Happy birthday, Alex. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're welcome. We've got a lovely yellow called Indian yellow. It's really warm and sort of nicely transparent. I'm thinking for all of these, I have kind of weathering in mind, to be honest, but also kind of painting. But I think this is seems like a very nice yellow. I got 2 greens. This is a great, again, weathering, but also like, just look at this. Isn't that a wonderful combination? Yeah. And then also another green, because I figured I actually didn't really have many greens. So I got 2 greens that were kind of a bit different. And this purple lake, wonderful color, goes from kind of being like black to sort of brown to sort of red. It's my favorite spectrum. I have like thousands of paints in that spectrum, and so I had to get one more. That was kind of me, wasn't it? I also kind of tried to go for, yeah, that's series 1, series 1, series 2, series 2. I saw some really nice ones that were series 5. That means like, 50 euros, a bit more for 1 tub of oil paint. Didn't get them. Kermit, hello, how are you doing? Hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Well, hope you have a wonderful Christmas as well. Kermit says 7,000 euros for a tripod. I'll just stack some shoeboxes, thanks. Yeah, there was actually one for 14,000 euros for a tripod. Isn't that a bit silly? Destin says it was meant to be a silly joke. I get it. I didn't get offended because I wasn't sure, so I had to ask before I took offense. Y52, nothing more. It was kind of a bit like that, you know. I wasn't really taking the YouTube thing utterly serious when I started. I just wanted to try it out, and so I just needed, you know, you just need to like start a name for my channel. What name? I don't know. And so that's kind of what happened. And maybe he says, if you compare oils to acrylics, it's still the cheaper option because they last for years. I mean, if you use them, sure. I mean, I've got to be honest, like with acrylics, I think there's only a few, you know I have a lot of paint and a lot of bottles of paint. Like the less bottles of paint you have, the more you'll run out. But I think there's only like 3 or 4 that I've been actually finished a bottle of paint and bought the same bottle of paint again because I really like the color. So I mean, the acrylics last kind of a long time as well, unless one is like commission painting armies for a living. But I agree with you. I mean, some of these tubs of oil paints have been around for a long time. Probably the one I use the most is the black by now, and I'm not even a third of the way through. And it's really difficult to not just squeeze out too much paint when you use oil paints. If you actually just squeeze out the amount you'd need, you'd have lifetime after lifetime of oil paint. I mean, they're designed for huge canvas paintings and not tiny miniatures. Pinkle Dinkle says, that's outrageous, but congrats. I hope you love that tripod and find out it gives you a +2 dex bonus. I mean, the exercise of carrying it around because it's darn heavy will probably at least give me a +1 strength. Windsor and Newton artist oils are no cheap product either. Those look lovely. I feel the need to buy oil paints now. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessary to buy the artist paint really, but I've just noticed, the only thing that I've noticed is that they hold together better when made into a wash, which is just kind of how I use them the most, you know. They just take dilution better, I find. Melnick is wondering, what's the difference between a 5K tripod 7 or 2K tripod? Well, that's the worst thing. Like the difference between, at least there was a bracket that was like 2K, 3.5, 4.5, like 5.5. And it's mostly in the thing, you know, on top of the tripod that you swivel up and down and this way and that. The actual legs were the same on all of them. So it was all about the mechanisms inside of the, I don't know what it's called in English, ball head, who knows? So that's kind of what you're paying for. Jason is wondering, how long does it take for a model painted with oil paint to dry? That depends on different things. One is how thick the oil paint is. So if you use an oil wash, which is a very, very diluted oil paint, that dries a lot faster than if you're actually painting it with oil paints. Secondly, it's about the environment that you've got the paint in. Like oil paint likes somewhere dry, somewhere with daylight, and somewhere warm. If you're under those circumstances, it'll dry a lot faster than if you've got it in a damp basement. If you've got it in a damp, dark basement, it'll take weeks to dry, kind of a thing. I usually put mine like in a window on top of a radiator. Like in Sweden, we have these radiators usually under the windows. There's like hot water running through the radiator. You should put it on that next to a window. Keeps it dry, keeps it warm. And there's some sunlight coming through on top of it. Well, not right now in winter, but otherwise. Under those circumstances, with like an oil wash, you're pretty much fine the next day. Like if you paint in the evening and you sit down the next evening to paint, your oil wash is probably dry. There's also kind of a difference between dry and cured, which is a bit annoying, but it can, like, it can be a pretty prolonged process. But if you paint with actual oil paints with not much dilution and the layers are thicker, you're looking at, maybe a week before you want to say, this is dry. Numi says, that's what I noticed as well. I bought a lovely magenta and sienna from the Winton series, and the pigment particles begin separating a little too early for miniature painting. Yeah, you end up with a wash that kind of looks like you've got sand in your glass of water or something. It separates. And I find that the artists, the more expensive paints, they don't really do that. How do you make an oil wash? Jason is wondering. Well, kind of having a pigment of some sort, like the color of the paint, and that is mixed with oil. Usually linseed oil. It could also be other oils. This one is linseed oil. This one is linseed oil. This one is linseed oil and safflower oil. This one is linseed oil and safflower oil. You can watch videos on it on YouTube because it looks very cool. It's like they're almost like whipped together in these, it looks like they're making some kind of ice cream or something. But that's pretty much it. It's just oil and pigment. I'm going to try and highlight my blue now because I've been doing a lot of talking. That's a really annoying fly in here. Mogo Viol, Channel 1 Toaster Review to Channel 51 Slow Unboxing have all failed. So here we are at Channel 52 miniatures. Indeed. Jason is wondering, so you can buy tubes of oil wash? No, not really. I mean, you can buy some oil washes that are pre-mixed, but I think the only ones I know of are these from Soilworks, which is scale 75. They look like this. I have to say, I don't think they're amazing. They work. They're kind of intended for terrain and staining and weathering. It feels like they also kind of separate into a bit of a grainy thing. I think there's more things in them as well that like they don't smell like just white spirit. It smells like there's maybe some more things in there. I don't know. But this is, yeah, it feels like they're done, like this is rust. So it even kind of dries to a sort of rusty with particles in it because it's meant to be rust on like a vehicle. So they're not great as a wash on a miniature. But so what you do is, I have a video on this. It's like 3 or 4 videos back. It tells you everything you need to know about oil paints. So probably if you watch that, then all your questions will be answered. But essentially you make your own wash by mixing white spirit and like turpentine and oil paint. But watch my oil painting video. It's like from 1 or 2 months back. And it literally probably tells you everything you want to know about oil paints. I hope. Tommy says, in the scale model market, there are hundreds of oil washes, AK, ammo, etc. I didn't know they made oil washes. I know there's the pens that are kind of oil washes from Ammo by MiG. I didn't know AK made oil washes, actually. I knew they make a lot of enamel washes, but not oil washes. Stegotron, hello, how are you doing? Taking 5 between Christmas, Maine, and pudding, so I thought I'd drop by and say hi and Merry Christmas to everyone. Well, hi and Merry Christmas. Good to see you. I'm just going to put a bit more blue on this blue, just because why not? Doing the sloppy. Best thing with like grim dark is it should just be called sloppy dark, because you can kind of just slap paint on and not worry too much, and then just say you were painting grim dark. I always turn very quiet when I'm painting because I forget people are watching, because all I see is miniature. So you'll have to excuse my lapse of protocol. I'm not trying to do anything fancy here, just get some paint on so we can see how the gold, whoa, that was bright. So we can see how the gold works in comparison to you know, in context, so to speak. Okay, there's blue on the blue now. Sloppy kind of blue. I think that Nuln Oil kind of just darkened things a bit too much, but so be it. Okay, stop fiddling, Alex, and just leave it. Okay. I need to do the same for the brown. Tom says, of course, I always mix up oil and enamel. Yeah, I mean, enamel washes are great as well. It's just a little bit of a different thing, I guess. Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna be quiet. Well, I'm gonna try not be quiet. I'm just gonna put some kind of, whoa, bad brush. No, what are you doing? I'll try the other brush instead. It's not doing what I want. Also, that brown isn't really doing what I want. I kind of want a yellowish highlight. I think might look a bit like gold, but who cares? More yellow. That's better. Get the small brush out. There we are. And just do the edges a little bit. There we go. Some scratches. Very nice and easy. Just trying to get some context. And there were some small straps there that I forgot to give a wash, I think. More scratches. A few scratches. There we are. And then I'm just gonna very thinly water down the brown and just get a little bit of brown back into that. Something like so. Okay. Oh yeah, that thing in there is actually not supposed to be gold, is it? It's supposed to be brown. That's part of the belt. There we are. I should probably highlight that silver a bit. My guess is that it would, wait, I can't imagine designing a shelf-stable wash based on oil paint is tricky business. Yeah, I get what you mean. My guess is that's why none of the paint makers have one on sale, because it would probably sell like hotcakes. I mean, people are surprisingly scared of solvent-based paints. I think not so much in the scale modeling world, but at least in the miniature painting world. So I don't know. I mean, if we were all just smart, we'd all use like maybe at least enamel washes instead of regular washes, but most people don't. If we were just in it for results. And so I think enamel acrylics win because of that. You know, look, silver. Wasn't that silvery? And a bit of silver on this thing back here. Like so. It's kind of nice. The shield really should get some kind of treatment. It's boring. There obviously should be blue on that shield. Now we can really see the difference in shine between that gold and the silver. So like in the best of worlds, I would probably just add some golden edge highlights to that gold, really. I think also, like when it comes to solvents, I don't know how it is. I know it's a lot more difficult for companies to sell, like say rattle cans, like making rattle cans, exporting rattle cans to different markets is a kind of a big hassle. I'm assuming it might be the same thing with enamel paints. But the biggest thing, honestly, apart from the solvent thing, is that a lot of, I know at least that Games Workshop they sort of label official, like in the behind the scenes thing, like what a company makes, what a company can sell. You have to label what you're creating. They're making toys. Which means that they can sell to kids and do marketing to kids and stuff without it being weird. And everything in a Games Workshop store has that sort of toy label on it. they wouldn't be able to sell enamel paints in a Games Workshop store because it wouldn't be a toy, because it has solvents in it. And this has to do with business things, you know. So an independent game store can sell lots of things, but they're not just selling toys, whereas Warhammer stores are toy stores and Warhammer products are toys. So they will never make a solvent-based paint, you know. Love says, God jul från Japan, which means Merry Christmas from Japan. Well, Merry Christmas. CW says, I know it's a cliche, but what's everyone's hobby resolution goals for 2026? That's a good one. Bring it on. What's your hobby resolutions for 2026? Tell me, while I'm probably painting a purple. Purplish. Magenta. Or purple. Purple. Magenta. Purplish. Numi says, I will finish all my old Lizardmen models. That's approximately 1,500 points. That's cool. CW's goal is to finish the darn Space Marine army so I can paint some more interesting things. I mean, once you've painted one Space Marine, you kind of painted them all. Not really, but kind of. What else? I want more. Give me more. No more hobby resolutions? Oh yeah, I forgot. My chat is slow because we're on YouTube. What's the time, by the way? Oh. Need quantum entanglement so that when you do paint one Space Marine, you paint them all. That'd be something, wouldn't it? Okay, I'm just going to paint some blue on this shield, I think. I want something easier. What if I add a black? Let's make it black. Black Templar contrast paint. Is there a more exciting choice? Not really. I want to finish all my Blood Bowl teams in reasonable amount of time and don't want to give up on them. My resolution is to try get more consistent with painting. Try not to sit and paint every few months, less computer games. Yeah, kind of helps just trying to do it a bit regularly, doesn't it? Build a new army or finish the Dark Water box. Oh yeah, there's a Dark Water box nowadays. Paint more minis and play more games with them. Yeah, that's a kind of one of the standards. One of the tricky ones. Get back into diorama building. Used to do it a lot. Now that I moved and have the space, I want to flex that muscle. Well, that sounds like fun. Only been doing Trench Crusade since I got back into wargaming. Think it's about time to dive into a second game. Any suggestions? More of a skirmish than grand battle guy. I mean, do you want sci-fi or fantasy? That's another goal. Paint the cursed city box. Yeah, that was a while back, wasn't it? My intention for 2026 is one, enter a small local painting competition, keep improving at sculpting my own things, paint 2 Horsemen of the Apocalypse figures I have. That's fun. Horsemen of the Apocalypse is always great. Eki says, Merry Christmas. I'm alone too. Well, welcome to some company. Glad to see you. Tim says, I've got 85mm minis from Neko Galaxy I want to finally get to. Bought it at a local convention and still in the box. Jan is my goal is to build a Trench Crusade board. Now that sounds like fun. And good luck, because building a board can be a bit of a thing, really. That's one of those projects where you can slowly drive yourself slightly nuts, because you kind of forget that you're painting a very large thing. But how large are they? They're like are they 2 by 2 feet? The Trench Crusade thingies? Okay, so you want recommendations for both fantasy and sci-fi. Okay. I mean, there is a lot of games. I've always thought both the Frostgrave and the Stargrave thing is cool. So Frostgrave is essentially sort of you have a magic ruined city in the middle of winter somewhere, and if you have a wizard that with a team of minions that go in and try and get some treasures. Stargrave is kind of the same thing, only you're doing it in space. Both, you can use whatever miniatures you just want to paint and think are fun. There's a lot of good talk on my Discord about the parsec thingy. Isn't that like 5 parsecs from somewhere? What's the name of that? Amy got a Sister's Army I want to paint. First 200 points almost done. Cool. Four by four is Trench Crusade. Okay, that's still relatively large, but I mean that is large. I do have another resolution, which is to organize my bits collection. That's a really good idea. I've kind of organized my bits selection into the different projects. So like I have a box for everything, like the one project I kit bashing, another box for another one I'm kit bashing. It's really dumb because then I want a bit from like, you know, yeah. I realize I want like a piratey bit from the pirate project or whatever, and I'm working on the medieval project, and so I need to open up this huge box of all the piratey bits. I'm just making this up as an example. Yeah, and then the other is just dumb. Jamie, how are you doing? Hello and happy Christmas holidays, Alex and everyone. Well, good to see you, Jamie. I hope you had a good day. We got another cracking on the board for Trench Crusade. Cool. Nuclear Kid says, happy Christmas, everyone. Currently planning to box up my random half-finished projects so I can focus on something properly. That's kind of what this hobby is about, really. Good luck to you if it works out. I've always tried, but it never really seems to work. Got lots of ideas for new awesome projects. I can't turn them off. Yeah, I mean it's kind of my own worst enemy is all the new projects that want to get done, and then I have lots of half-finished projects. But I guess one has to live with that. Okay, I've got an idea. I need like bright gray, perhaps. Is that fun? Yeah, let's just do a bright gray. I painted the shield with a black speed paint. Whoa, I hate when that happens. That was a lot of paint. Because blue is not going to really, I just use the black speed paint because it kind of flows out easily. So we've got a black shield. I figured if I just do a black shield and do some scratches on it, I can kind of get away with that. I also did a sort of purplish handle real quickly there. So I'm going to try and find a small teeny weeny brush and just do some scratches on that shield. Jamie says, I saw someone use bead boxes, a series of clear plastic boxes nested in larger box for bits organization. Unsure if this would work. Yeah, that's a good idea. Tim says, is there a color you want to try paint more with in 2026? I used a lot of turquoise this year. So I say same here, like teal and turquoise. I'm been thinking maybe I'm going to try and not use, like, I'm not going to say what colors I want to use. I'll just try and not use teal and turquoise and blue. and try use other colors instead as maybe as a challenge for next year. I don't know. Does this even look like scratches? Not really. It looks like someone's been smudging paint all over, but that doesn't really matter because I am in fact just smudging paint all over. Whoops. Okay, that'll have to do. And then I'm going to try and highlight the gold with just because now I'm just doing stuff. Might as well try and highlight the gold. Where's that? Jamie saying, has your son decided the rats look too cool and he wants to play them, or are you on a Stormcast painting duty too? This started out with me trying to figure out a way to get him painting gold maybe a little bit easier than it has been. So I've tried a stippling thing. And then I just wanted to give some context, so I just painted on some blue in that. But this was a bit of an experiment just in stippling. There was some steps. I should have stippled on some brown. I did stipple on some brown first, but I should have stippled on a bit more brown. And then I stippled on a bit of bright sort of yellow, and then I did the gold. And so so it was just an experiment. So now I have an idea of maybe how I could get him getting a nice gold very easily. And now I'm just doing the I just kind of want to finish it off, maybe not in the way that he would do it, which means a bit of gold, shiny kind of highlights, I guess. Trying to cover up some of my mistakes. Just get a bit more of a shine happening here and there. I did stipple on a brighter gold, but the wash kind of toned everything down. I just want to get these raised areas get a little bit more of a bling happening and some kind of scratches. But I mean, it's a pretty decent Stormcast for, whoops, that's too much gold. Oh, well. For just being something whipped together in a live stream while doing lots of talking and stuff. that'll have to do. And then we probably should give him glowy eyes. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of this yellow first, I think. Paint it in the eye region. Like so. Smudging it about. And then find maybe some kind of a very bright green. I know I had a very bright green around here, didn't I? Here's a very bright green. The highlighting helps quite a bit. Good shout. Yeah, that could be, I mean, that could just be a quick dry brush. If one would just do all the gold and then do a quick, very bright yellow, bright gold dry brush before moving on to painting like the blue and that. Person says, hey, I really appreciate you. I have invested in oils and I'm enjoying my learning process and experiments. Wishing you a warm and cozy Christmas day and a lucky new year. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Northwood says, Merry Christmas, peace on earth, and goodwill to all mankind. I agree. It's a good call there. Okay, let's just, I think this might not be the best green, but let's just do some glowy green. Kind of green that kind of clashes a little bit with the yellow for some reason, but I don't care. And maybe a bit of a glow on the outside of the eye, like so. And a bit shaky today. Like so. Okay, that's Mr. Stormcast done. This is mainly just an experiment for the gold. No, the shield is just, yeah, whatever. That should be blue. I need to figure out a way to get that done better. Probably paint all of this blue, skip the gold in the middle, like I'm thinking out of an efficiency standpoint. And just have the gold trim around it and the rest of the shield just all blue, or whatever color one wants the Stormcast to have. But yeah, I mean, I like the gold kind of like this. It's a nice gold. A bit more brown instead of the black. But like tabletop mini down here. That's pretty cool. All right. Jamie says, could be like a coppery verdigris shield with green underneath gold on the highlights. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. This is totally trying to do a sort of something my kid could paint, not have to faff around with details, kind of a paint job thing. But we'll see. I believe we've come to the end of this live stream, my dear friends. I've been at it for 3 hours now, I think. Can that be right? 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 3 hours. It's time for me to leave and go pick up my son. Thank you very much for hanging out today. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas holiday, whatever you're doing, and you know, take care of each other and your communities around you. There's going to be a new video up tomorrow, 10 best of 2025 kind of a video. I hope you watch that, and then more videos to come next year. Please don't forget to do all the likes and the subscriptions while you're in there. And if you enjoy live streams like this, then check me out on Twitch, because that's usually where I stream. That should be about it. God jul, and I'll hopefully see you around. Bye.